Dr. Agnes Kalibata, the United Nations Secretary General Special Envoy and President of AGRA. Professor George Kanyamapiri, Ru Forum Board Chair and Vice Chancellor of Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Malawi. Professor Adipala Ekwamu, Executive Secretary of Ru Forum, Uganda. Representative, African Development Bank. Dr. Mary Shawa, Ru Forum Board Member from Malawi. Dr. Florence Nakaiwa from Ru Forum Secretariat. Dr. Levis Inea, Director of Higher Education. Dr. Rodwell S. Mzondi, Director of Agriculture Planning Services. Members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the University Policy Dialogue for Strengthening Resilient Agri-Food Systems in Africa's pre-United Nations Food Systems Summit Dialogue for African Heads of State. My name is Wezi Kasambala, the Deputy Director of Communications here at State House, Malawi. Perhaps we might want to start, Your Excellency, with perhaps an overview of why we are here today and why you, Your Excellency, are chairing this very, very important occasion. To maybe give an overview of food systems in the first place. The food system is a complex web of activities for the benefit of perhaps others who might have only heard this recently. It involves the production, processing, transport, and consumption issues concerning the food system, including the governance and economics of food production, its sustainability, the degree to which we waste food, how food production affects the natural environment, and the impact of food on individual and population health. According to the University of Oxford, Your Excellency, today, world agriculture is facing major challenges, including how to feed a growing world population, how to reduce rural poverty in the world, and how to manage ecosystems, goods, and services in light of global environmental change. Traditionally, components of modern production and consumption systems have been assessed or analyzed in studies to improve the efficiency of a particular element or activity based on the assumption that this will also improve the efficiency of the whole system. However, Your Excellency, over the last few decades, it has become clear that a more holistic framework is needed to address these complex issues. As a result, a food systems approach has been widely adopted to identify, analyze, and assess the impact and feedback of the system's different actors, activities, and outcomes to help identify intervention points for enhancing food security. Your Excellency, the food system therefore includes not only the basic elements of how we get our food from farm to fork, but also all of the processes and infrastructure involved in feeding a growing population. Systems can also exist within systems, for example, farming systems, agricultural ecosystems, economic systems, and social systems, and within those are further subsets of water systems, energy, financing, marketing systems, policy systems, culinary systems, and so on, without boring you, Your Excellency. Population health is also a key factor in addressing food system challenges, especially as nutrition-related chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and some forms of cancer are major contributors to the global burden of disease. In order to plan sustainable, equitable, and healthy food systems for the future, we require integrated and innovative analytical methods and approaches from a range of disciplines, as well as effective intersectoral policy analysis and multi-stakeholder engagement. It is against this background, Your Excellency, that Ru Forum has put together this very, very important initiative. But I suppose it would only make sense for me to give you an overview of where this is coming from and the background behind this particular event. In October 2021, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, will be convening a food systems summit as part of the Decade of Action to Achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, by 2030. In preparation for the summit, the UN Secretary General has put in place several structures to support the summit process, and this includes the Champions Network. Your Excellency, as one of the 100 food system champions, Professor Adipala Ekwamu, the Executive Secretary at the Regional University Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, also known as RUFORUM, a network of 129 universities in 38 African countries, has been tasked by the United Nations to mobilize a large and diverse group of stakeholders representing a broad range of constituencies in every region of the world to call for a transformation of the world's food systems. The Champions Network is expected to inspire and facilitate coordinated action before, during, and after the summit. It is against this background that, Your Excellency, you have been called upon honorably to come and chair this great event. But it's not just about these stakeholders who've been mentioned, Your Excellency. We also have a video we would like to show you, which is basically referring to the kind of Africa that we would want in terms of food stability and food systems.
Food is more than just what we eat. The ways in which we produce, process, and consume food touches every aspect of life on this planet. It is the foundation of our cultures, our economies, and our relationship with the natural world, and has the power to bring us together as families, communities, and nations.
Families and children are on the brink of famine.
But today's food systems are fragile and unequal. When they fail, there are ripple effects around the world, and the pandemic has impacted the most vulnerable among us. But we know what we need to do to get back on track. We have an opportunity to build back stronger than ever. Transforming our food systems is possible and necessary, and we can set a course to make real change for the benefit of all people. By bringing together key players from around the world and giving voice to citizens in every country. Because a strong food system means
no matter your race, no matter your class, no matter where you live,
women and men have equal opportunities to produce and access nutritious food,
which promotes human health at every step
without degrading land and water resources.
Significa una agricultura familiar.
Provide us, the community, with stability.
All year round, every month, every day of the week.
Even during a pandemic.
We are all connected, and we all have a responsibility to act. We must be bold. We must think and act differently. Transforming our food systems is the most powerful action we can take to solve our biggest problems. Because together,
we can build a just and resilient world.
A just and resilient world
Where no one is left behind.
where no one is left behind.
Where no one is left behind.
Where no one is left behind. Join us today.
Your Excellency, I don't think I need to even say too much to express the message that was conveyed in that video. I think we will all agree that that is the kind of Africa that we want. An Africa that's food reliant, food sufficient, and an Africa that can really hold its own when we think about food systems. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor and my humble duty to call upon the Republic of Malawi to address us.
Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, honorable ministers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this dialogue for African heads of state and government ahead of the United Nations Food Systems Summit 2021. Malawi is greatly honored to be hosting this significant and historic event. And so on behalf of Malawi, I extend to each of you a warm welcome. At the outset, I must give special recognition to the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, His Excellency Q. Dongu. Thank you for joining us. Similarly, congratulations are in order to Dr. Agnes Karibata, the President of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, on her appointment as the United Nations Special Envoy to the Food Systems Summit. Thank you for gracing this occasion. Your presence here gives us confidence that our deliberations and resolutions are already many, many miles closer to being heard and supported by the coming summit. Let me also thank the 9th Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for his concern for the state of the world's food systems today and for his efforts to convene a Food Systems Summit 2021 as part of the Decade of Action. The summit's aim of maximizing the co-benefits of a food systems approach across the entire 2030 agenda and meeting the challenges of climate change is timely. Your Excellencies, as you know, this dialogue is happening in partnership with the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, RUFORUM, and I am applauding them, its leadership, and everyone for supporting human capital development and research in Africa, as well as organizing multiple dialogues towards the UN Food Systems Summit. This year's UN Systems Summit seeks to generate significant action and measurable progress towards the attainment of Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Its other objectives are to raise awareness and elevate public discussion on how reforming our food systems can help us all to achieve the SDGs, to develop principles to guide governments and other stakeholders in leveraging their food systems to support the SDGs, and to create a system of follow-up and review that ensures that the summit's outcomes become, or rather continue to drive new actions and progress. And so, Your Excellencies, I commend these objectives to all of you for support, being cognizant of the following outcomes. A, the summit will create food systems that can sustain Africa and the world. B, the summit will support the attainment of the required food and nutrition security at all levels. C, the summit will carry the voice of Africa to the UN General Assembly in October 2021. D, the summit is an opportunity to validate and distill messages on what Africa wants and the value chains. E, the summit will provide rationalization for the issues that require focus, such as transitioning from subsistence to industrialization and commercialization of food systems. F, the summit will examine sustainable supply and value chains and the relationship between agriculture and the food chains. G, the summit will promote the use of facts to inform the outcome declarations that will feed into the negotiations and contribute to the resolution to be tabled at the UN Summit in October 2021. H, the summit will address such chronic issues as undernutrition in Africa, currently at 40%, over a fifth of which is in the form of stunted under 5 children, a total of 144 million, while close to 47 million are wasted. As such, this summit's focus on food systems will help reduce stunting to less than 10%, to ensure that the brain development of the children is 100%. The reduction of stunting will propel the human capital development agenda and strengthen the connectivity between education and the 41 value chains in all the key economy makers requiring skills. I, the summit will evaluate the nutritional status of vulnerable groups and how that status will deteriorate further due to health and socioeconomic impact of COVID-19. In the case of Malawi, the summit will contribute to SDGs attainment, hence our hosting of this preliminary dialogue. Additionally, we feel that it will fit into our efforts to domesticate the AU Agenda 2063, such as the Ministry of Agriculture's development of a 10-year strategic plan to make that agenda operational. I'm sure that your excellencies have similar pursuits for your jurisdictions. Your excellencies, in view of these goals, Malawi is fully committed to achieving the goals of the summit and hereby endorses the declaration, which will be the outcome document of this dialogue. You may have already heard that Malawi is popularly known as the warm heart of Africa because of the friendliness of our citizens, and most of whom are engaged in various agricultural activities, including 11 million smallholder farming. However, we are also blessed with resources relevant to food systems development, such as Lake Malawi, which covers 20% of our country. In fact, agriculture accounts for more than 1/3 of the gross domestic product and 90% of the country's exports. As such, Malawi has special interest and stake in the continent's food and nutrition security and by extension, in the Global Food Systems Summit 2021. So my country's interest in this is a matter of urgency, because Malawi has a high population growth which is increasing the pressure on its natural resources. Recurring droughts continuously afflict Malawi's agricultural sector, thereby threatening livelihoods of the smallholder farmers, which constitute 80% of Malawi's population. It is in the face of these odds that the government of the Republic of Malawi has developed the National Nutrition Policy and Strategic Plan, closely aligned with the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program Plan, CAADP, and the agriculture sector-wide approach. Our desire is to see these used in the coordination of the food security programming at national and community levels. And as a result of these efforts, we are already seeing results. For instance, Malawi has finally met its target, allocating 10% of its national budget to agriculture and an annual growth rate of 6% for CAADP. Secondly, Malawi has several programs today that are seeking to improve nutrition through behavior change, increase access to nutritious food, focus on dairy and legumes, and train farmers in agricultural practices technologies that increase productivity. The future we want to create is one that includes better agricultural production and productivity. For Malawi, this means prioritizing agriculture and food security, irrigation, and transport infrastructure as envisioned in the Malawi 2063 agenda. It also means establishing a high-tech bioscience center and climate change study center to harness our natural resources more sustainably. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, while this is a good start for Malawi, we recognize that we still have a long way to go to permanently eliminate continuous food shortages, reduce malnutrition, increase preparedness to shocks like COVID-19 pandemic, increase adoption of agricultural technologies. We have a long way to go to sustainably increase access to finance and farm inputs. We have a long way to go to increase farm mechanization and technical labor skills. We have a long way to go to strengthen our human capital base and research capacity. Even so, we are determined to take swift action and make progress. I mention these challenges in Malawi's agriculture sector because I know they are common across the continent. As such, this dialogue presents all of us as leaders an opportunity for honest discussion on how to improve our food systems and feed our own people. Excellencies, let us resolve to take bold steps towards this goal. Let us resolve to take bold steps in instituting industrial policies, promoting private investment and job growth in local non-farm sectors, attracting investment in agri-food systems, and strengthening educational value chains from universities to vocational colleges. Let us resolve to work collaboratively with African universities and other actors in and outside Africa to develop the requisite human capital for our food systems. Let us resolve to strengthen our nation's commitment to CAADP financing and implementation. Let us resolve to pursue Africa's Agenda 2063 and maximize the continental free trade area. Let us resolve to make sure the game changers that are agreed at the coming summit are co-developed, co-owned, and jointly implemented. As we deliberate today, let us resolve to strengthen production fundamentals, such as research and innovation. Let us resolve to commit to support implementation of Africa's universities' agenda for higher agricultural education, science, technology, and innovation, AHESTI. Let us resolve to strengthen the use of digital technologies and build foresight capacities for our continent. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to conclude by wishing this convening good deliberations and thanking you all on behalf of the people and the government of the Republic of Malawi for giving us the honor to host this dialogue and how important it is. I thank you so much for listening, and let's go ahead and discuss this.
Your Excellency, the State President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar. Your Excellencies, in proceeding with the program, through you, Your Excellency, I would now like to call upon Professor George Kanyamapiri, Rule Forum Board Chairperson and Vice Chancellor of the Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Malawi, to address us.
Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar, President of the Republic of Malawi, host of the UN Food Systems Pre-Summit Dialogue. Your Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda. Your Excellency, Dr. Emerson D. Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. His Excellency, General Malik Aga, the member of Sudan Transitional Government, Sudan. His Excellency, Dr. Kudo Gyu, the Director General for Food and Agriculture Organization. Honorable Gaston Gossi Dosa Hui, Minister of Agriculture, Benin. Honorable Robin Lowe, Minister of Agriculture in Malawi. Honorable Agnes Makonda Nyalonje, Minister of Education in Malawi. Dr. Agnes Kalibata, United Nations Secretary General, Special Envoy, and President of AGRA. Prof. Adipala Ekwamu, Executive Secretary, Roof Forum, Uganda. Representative, African Development Bank, and all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me, Your Excellency, to use this opportunity on behalf of African universities and especially the Roof Forum Network to thank His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar, the President of the Republic of Malawi, for hosting this pinnacle dialogue of the Roof Forum series of independent dialogues. I recognize and appreciate the presence of other presidents and dignitaries here today. Your Excellency, Your Excellencies, we as African universities appreciate your support to pitch the voice and partnerships between universities and policymakers as we prepare for the October 2021 United Nations Food Systems Summit. Your Excellencies, the dialogue today represents the apex of the journey that we started when Professor Adipala Ekwamu was nominated as a food systems champion to galvanize stakeholder engagement towards the UN Food Systems Summit. This was in recognition of the contribution of the Roof Forum Network as a convener and key player in agri-food systems, not only in Africa, but globally. Your Excellencies, Roof Forum, a network of 129 universities in 38 African countries, aspires for a vibrant, transformative universities catalyzing sustainable, inclusive agricultural development to feed and create prosperity for Africa. In line with this vision, Roof Forum is committed to proposing bold actions towards the 17 Sustainable Development Goals as envisaged by the United Nations Food Systems Summit, and most especially goal number 2 of zero hunger for all populations. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is our belief that agri-food systems can only be sustainable if all players are actively involved All the independent dialogues that have been organized have confirmed that science, technology, and innovations are key pathways for achieving more resilient food systems, and that universities have a significant role to play in this endeavor. Hence, our call to you and our other leaders and the United Nations Food Systems Summit to engage universities in research, institutions in the implementations of the UN Food Systems actions and implementations of other initiatives such as European Union, African Union, Sustainable Agriculture, Food and Nutrition, and climate change actions. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy that the ideas generated through the different dialogues under the University Policy Dialogue for Strengthening Resilient Agri-Food Systems in Africa have come this far and are now before eminent excellencies. It is my prayer, Your Excellency, that they will go even further to influence dialogue at the continental level and at the UN Summit in October. Specifically, Your Excellency, African universities call for action and commitments to build Africa's science, technology, and innovation capacity for strengthening food systems and other development thrusts, responding to emerging challenges, and to ensure the continent has foresight capacity for long-term planning. Increase investment in research to develop the needed technologies and innovations to spur development, good health in the continent. Targeted investment and digital technologies for all facets of our operations, including teaching, learning, agriculture, and business and policy support. Promote inclusivity in all development initiatives, including access to education. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for this great opportunity accorded to the African universities. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor George Kanyama-Piri, Reform Board Chairperson and Vice Chancellor of the Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Malawi. Your Excellency and Your Excellencies, may I also take this opportunity to recognize His Excellency Carlos Agostinho do Rosario, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, who has just joined the summit very recently as well. And we'd also like to recognize the First Lady and Minister of Education of Uganda, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni. Moving on with the program, Your Excellency, I would now like to call upon His Excellency, Dr. Q Dong-yu, who is the Director General of the FAO, to come and, or rather to address us.
Excellency, President of the country, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, sustainability SDG eradicate and nutrition. Can you hear me?
Excellency.
Yeah?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. So by ensuring access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food for all and to end all forms of malnutrition. Africa is not on track to meet SDG 2. The gradual deterioration of food security on the African continent has been caused by the various often converging challenges. They include conflict, weather extremes, economic slowdown, and recently fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. A continued worsening of the situation is expected during the course of 2021. As measures to contain the pandemic are further impeding the recovery of food security and food markets. In 2020, FAO conducted surveys in over 24 countries of the region. They highlighted that the containment measures are causing constrained demand on agri-food markets, leading to reduced income. Young people are more vulnerable than adults to the impact of the disruption caused by the pandemic. Majority of the working youth are poor and employed in low-quality jobs in the informal sector, with youth unemployment in rural areas remaining critical. Although precarious agriculture in the region provide employment to 60% of people between the ages of 15 and 34 years old. This is a clear indication that the young people must be at the center of any strategy for Build Back Better and transforming our current agro-food systems. Demographically, trend shows that 10 to 12 million new jobs needed to be created annually over the next 20 years to employ new labor markets and trends. The agri-food system needed to play their part in generating decent employment for the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, despite disruption, agri-food system in the Africa region continue to evolve. For instance, the rapid rate of urbanization is driving the emergence of the many small secondary cities across Africa. This trend is reshaping farmers and agri-food entrepreneurs' access to the market, as it is extending the value chains into very previously hard to reach areas. Also, while the agriculture accounts for about one-fifth of the GDP in African countries, the food economy is even larger. Recent data shows that agricultural production contributes 24% of GDP in sub-Saharan Africa. Small and medium-sized agro-enterprises contribute another 20% of GDP. This is in addition to the 10% contribution from the region's exports. Moreover, Africa agri-food sector is estimated to evolve into $1 trillion market by 2030. This trend provides a scenario that is ripe for the innovation and investment in the national and regional agri-food systems, which foresee the supply of the sustainably produced, nutritious, affordable health agri-food products to local, regional, and international consumers. Dear colleagues, the Africa Continent Free Trade Agreement will play a significant role in furthering this trend and opportunities, as well as the task of transforming our agri-food systems to make them more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. This trend also highlights the need for a system approach with the integrated policy frameworks from the public, private, and civil society sectors, leveraging expertise from the wide range of disciplines, including trade, production, and financial, health, environment, and food safety, as well as urban planning and digitalization. Last year, during the UN General Assembly, we launched FAO with other partners, Green City Initiative. We want to put the city urbanization with the green development. This cross-disciplinary approach will the implication for the role universities needed to play in agri-food systems transformation. how they design and run courses and research related to the agri-food sector, so that the young people obtain the skills, knowledge required by both the private and the public sectors. University can reach out to the multiple initiatives across the continent, such as the NEPA Rural Future Program, the Africa Agribusiness Incubation Network, or FAO AUC Youth in Agri-Food System Investment Guidelines. The digitalization is also rapidly becoming a game changer in agriculture, boosting productivity, profitability, and resilience to climate change. It could drive greater engagement from youth and women, create employment opportunity across the agri-food systems. Despite some growth in digitalization over the last 10 years, progress has been slow in serving the smallholders and the agri-food enterprises that produce 80% of Africa agricultural output. Dear colleagues, to leverage the potential of information and communication technology, ICT, university can also harness FAO work on de-risking agri-food systems through digitalization. They can do this by engaging with a wide range of solutions, including geospatial tools. FAO Hand-in-Hand initiative can also support universities in the region with targeted rural development initiatives that address issues such as ecosystem restoration, forestry, biodiversity, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and soil and water management. Beyond the digitalization, universities in Africa need to be at the cutting edge of all disciplines linked to the transformation of agri-food systems by engaging in innovative research that brings together the concerns of public sector with the needs of the private sector, and providing training to ensure that young people enter the job market are equipped to lead the agri-food system development from the wide range of discipline and experience and expertise. Ultimately, science and research needed to underpin all cross-sectoral conversations on the sustainable transformation of agri-food systems. And I think the excellence President mentioned, vocational training also is very important for Africa and for transformation of university education, because fit the purpose for the young people rather become the professional farmers, or better to become staffs for the agribusiness, because everyone has a part to play in achieving the four betters: better production, as I share completely 100% with Honorable President. Agriculture, we should look at the better production. It's a fundamental, zero ground to start, and then better nutrition, and better environment, and better life for all. So the new strategic framework of FAO for next decade, already endorsed by the Minister Conference last month. Actually, it's 2 weeks ago. So it's time now for me and for FAO. We wanted to have a more close cooperation based on your national priority to transform your agri-food system to fit the need for your consumers and for your farmers and for your economic development. In Africa, it's always in my heart, and we will work together with you, and make the better future for all the people. And thank you. Over to you.
You are muted.
He talked about digitalization and the importance of the university systems in terms of research in order to realize these goals. Your Excellency, allow me now, on that note, to let the Honorable Lobin Lowe, the MP, Minister of Agriculture for Malawi, to weigh in on this discussion on that note.
Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar, President of the Republic of Malawi, the host of the UN Food Systems Pre-Summit Dialogue. All Excellencies, all Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to speak at this very important African Heads of States Food Systems Dialogue that has brought together scientists and policymakers. Scientists and policymakers are among the complex set of actors necessary for transforming the food systems in Africa and across the globe. Your Excellencies, I understand that when science and policy interface, they can create a powerhouse necessary for generating actionable knowledge to move beyond obstacles and address trade-offs and barriers to change. This powerhouse can also connect expertise and mechanisms to address the multi-sectoral and multi-scale processes necessary for sustainable development. Additionally, science and policy interface can play a decisive role if they dialogue and unite divergent views to overcome regional and sectoral fragmentation. Therefore, this dialogue is indeed timely and necessary for defining the needed pathways to transform the food systems in Africa. Your Excellencies, you may wish to know that this dialogue follows the ministerial virtual dialogue towards the UN Food Systems Summit that Malawi also hosted on 9th June 2021. I therefore speak on behalf of my fellow ministers in the continent to share the deliberations from that particular meeting. Your Excellencies, we, the ministers from different sectors in African governments, noted that our continent is home to nearly 1.4 billion, or about 17% of the world population. The vast majority of these people live in rural areas, deriving their livelihood from land and land-related resources. Your Excellencies, we also noted that urbanization and modernization of the continent's food systems generate risks and opportunities that we can harness to institute appropriate measures to collectively address the food system challenges. with 60% of Africa's population depending on agriculture, vibrant agriculture, education, and health sectors must be part of the solution to create inclusive food systems in the continent. Your Excellencies, we also noted that only a fraction of smallholder farmers have the capacity as entrepreneurs. These are the smallholder farmers who are mainly involved in food production, but also depend on markets for food. Skilling such populations and in general improving the labor productivity in the continent is crucial for sustaining the food systems that are competitive and cost-effective. Your Excellencies, we recognize that the current trends and the transformations in Africa's food systems being observed today are outcomes of previous policies and public investment patterns. We therefore noted that the future will be shaped and be transformed by today's investment and policy actions. Your Excellencies, we further recognize that a more holistic human capital development is required to build the workforce. That is from production to research and innovations, as well as entrepreneurship. African universities are therefore paramount in the design and implementation of such human capital development programs. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with this understanding, we, the ministers, agree on the need to strengthen production fundamentals such as research and innovation that can direct how we leverage our production resources. As a region, we need to generate relevant technologies, guide threat surveillance, inform policy design, and improve accountability. Further, we, the ministers, agree that there is need to institute industrial policies, invest strongly in the education value chain, and foster global partnership to develop more sustainable, inclusive, resilient food systems that are inclusive of smallholder farmers and the youth. Your Excellencies, our appeal to stakeholders at the UN Food System Summit is on the need to recognize that Africa's growing market is an opportunity for transforming the food systems. However, the challenges remain, particularly poverty and malnutrition, especially among rural households and smallholder farmers. In conclusion, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that with such support, we can promote research, technology, generation, and dissemination that will not only sustain the current food systems, but also develop new food systems that are appropriate in different areas. As a continent, we should also strengthen our commitment to Africa's Agenda 2063 and the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCTA. These development agendas have set the pace in defining the future we want, the Africa we want. I thank you so much, Your Excellencies. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lobin Lowe, MP, Minister of Agriculture here in Malawi. Moving on with the program, Your Excellencies, if you now allow me to invite Dr. Agnes Kalibata, who is the United Nations Secretary General, Special Envoy, and President of AGRA, to address us.
Excellencies, Honorable Minister, distinguished guests. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very good. Very good. If someone can mute, please, I think that would be very good. So let me start. Excellencies, heads of state, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, good afternoon. I wish to thank the government of the Republic of Malawi and His Excellency President Lazarus Jaguar for hosting this event today. I'm here representing the UN Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, who also serves as the chair of the Food Systems Summit Advisory Committee. The UN Secretary General launched the Food Systems Summit in 2019, recognizing that we are lagging behind on achieving SDGs and that the COVID-19 pandemic threatens to take us backwards. As the UN Decade of Action commences, we are only 9 farming seasons away from 2030, and transforming our food system is one of the ways in which we can impact SDGs and make progress for the sake of people, planet, and our shared prosperity. In the ongoing summit process, we have seen diverse constituencies come together to give voices to ideas and approaches that could provide opportunities that transform for potential pathways for countries to transform their food systems. To deliver the summit, we have launched processes that reinforce each other, from the summit dialogues to action tracks, to the scientific group, to levers of change, and to our champions. We see 6 areas emerging from the summit process, including nourishing people, at the center of which is ending hunger and malnutrition, reducing the impact of climate change and biodiversity, building resilience, improving livelihoods and empowering communities, shifting to sustainable consumption, and leveraging knowledge and innovation. Excellencies, while food defines us, defines our communities, our countries, and brings us together, we must rethink how we are producing, processing, and consuming food. We must reinvent, revitalize how we work together in a systems approach to create multiple wins, not just for ourselves, but for our planet too. There are various entry points for Africa to transform our food system, and I'll just give a few examples here. Africa lays claim to the most undeveloped land in the world, equivalent to 25% of the world's fertile land. Estimates suggest that for every 10% increase in farm yields, there has been a 7% reduction in poverty in Africa. Closing the gender gap in Africa will result in up to 10% increase in food production and up to 13% decrease in poverty. And lastly, in sub-Saharan Africa, 7 out of 10 are farmers, responsible for 80% of food production. Imagine if we could empower them to produce efficiently and more sustainably. With the right partnerships and corrective action within the continent, we can drive both policy and technological innovations that can benefit our people, our economies, and reduce the negative impact on our environment. As the pre-summit takes place later this year and the summit in September, we're encouraged to see African countries coming together, showing leadership, exchanging ideas, sharing knowledge, and being bold, as we've heard the Minister of Malawi just state a minute ago. I'm optimistic about the emergence of a stronger narrative for Africa, anchored in our own context. In closing, I wish to commend NEPAD, UNECA, RUFORUM, and other partners that have supported member states in this summit process and ensuring that we come through on an African vision. It is important that Africa sits at the global table and presents her priorities in the food systems transformation. It is also important that African countries anchor their national pathways and game-changing ideas in scientific evidence. It is essential that governments and other stakeholders understand where to invest for the highest returns. In conclusion, I hope that we can use the Food Systems Summit as an opportunity to build back better and stronger. I thank you once again for inviting me, and I wish you bold and courageous conversations that can allow us to work together towards a sustainable 2030 agenda. Thank you again, and I wish you great deliberations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, United Nations Secretary General and Special Envoy and President of AGRA. I loved her words. She said bold and courageous conversations, which I think doesn't need to be reiterated. Your Excellencies, what we've uncovered here in this second session is a number of things which have stood out. The elimination of malnutrition, which is very much associated with a lack of food stability and resilience. We've also heard talk about making sure we invest in research in order to be able to realize these ambitions that we're talking about today. But then also at the core of this is the idea that we also need to make sure we are aware of the environment as we endeavor to realize these goals. Your Excellencies, allow me now, before we conclude the second session of this summit, to take a look at one more documentary by the United Nations Food Systems Summit to perhaps summarize this second session.
What is behind the idea of the statement, the Africa we want, is that all of us, every single one of us, has a role in building the Africa we want.
What is the Africa that I want?
Wow, the Africa I want.
I want to have an Africa where there will be less hunger, there will be equal opportunity.
My Africa is one which is confident.
An Africa that is able to create jobs for its young people.
I want an Africa that is self-sufficient to feed its population.
It's a prosperous Africa, a disease-free Africa, a malnutrition-free Africa.
You need to be secure. People need to be well fed. People need to have places to express themselves and not to feel afraid. People need to dream of possibilities and realize them.
The Africa I want is an Africa which will be prosperous, which will be diverse, and which will serve as the food basket not only for ourselves in the continent but also to the world.
The Africa that is able to derive the bulk of its income from agriculture in the sense of having raw materials that are produced by the African farmers.
The Africa that we see that we can use science to solve most of the problems.
I would like also to make sure that the women are also not left behind in Africa.
And that there will be less boundaries physically and virtually.
Hunger-free, prosperous, powerful, exporting.
We believe in ourselves, where we see the value of the resources that we have.
Is the Africa that is resilient and has the structures, institutions and processes to renew itself?
People feel strongly that we should own our destiny.
We can be an amazing example to the rest of the world.
That is the kind of Africa I want to see.
And I would like Africans to say, oh, it's great to be an African. The opportunities are there. It's now up to me. It's up to me.
How exciting would it be to live in that Africa? And so you get motivated into putting your shoulder to the wheel and building the Africa you want in whatever corner you may be.
Your Excellencies, we started out this summit in the first session with some fairly grim statistics as to the state or the status of food security and food systems in Africa. But having listened to the opening remarks by the various stakeholders and indeed watching this last documentary, I think we can all agree that there's a glimmer of hope if we all just unite and have one goal at hand. Your Excellency, it is now my humble duty to invite you to lead us into the third session of this summit by inviting our other heads of state to address us. Your Excellency, the State President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Jaguar, if you may now lead us into the third session.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. I'm excited about this candid discussion. And so, because we have an Africa we're all dreaming about, a world that will be blessed because of blessing coming from Africa, I want to invite His Excellency Carlos Agostinho Rosario, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, to address us at this moment, contribute to the dialogue. Dr. Rosario. Well, if he's not available, can I call on His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda? Mzee. Your Excellency, First Lady, are you there? Can you hear me? I know we are having to do with connectivity issues, but let me gladly invite His Excellency Dr. Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. From Zimbabwe, can you hear us?
Ready?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for inviting Unfortunately, he's engaged, is able to intervene at the appropriate time that had been assigned to him at 17:45.
Noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Your Excellency.
The technical division, if you may advise, are we good to go with His Excellency Carlos Agostino? Can you hear us?
Can we hear from Mozambique? His Prime Minister?
Could you respond if you can hear us, or at least give us a way forward?
Solomon, we are unable to hear the sound, please.
Apologies there, Your Excellencies. We seem to be having some slight technical glitches there. Thank you very much, Honorable Nyalonje. We will go back to the declaration once we have heard from the other heads of state. But I think it might be perhaps prudent to go into the open discussion right now. So if I can ask you humbly, Your Excellency, if you may lead us into an open discussion as we resolve the technical issues.
Thank you. All the more reason why we need to have this interface between science, technology, innovation, vis-a-vis food systems. But perhaps after hearing a number of presentations, we would want to call in for comments and just have an open discussion. Whoever would want to contribute can indicate so, even as we wait for to be connected with their excellencies. Is there anyone that would want to contribute at this stage? It's open. Yes? Just go ahead. I can't read the name.
You had your hand up. Somebody had a hand up. You may go ahead. Can you hear us? I think your mic might be muted.
You had your hand up. Please proceed. You are muted.
Hello. Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm okay now. Okay, do you hear me? Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, there is echo. Okay, my name is Professor Noor. I'm from Sudan. And also I'm a professor here at Purdue University, United States of America. I'm very happy to attend and to listen to all these presentations. My question is that the African diaspora has a wealth of experiences. Is there some sort of a system whereby they can contribute to the development of the food systems in Africa? This is one. So country, there is wealth of opportunities. And also, is there a clearinghouse for all this African expertise? Because Africa can help Africa. Right now, we're looking for most of the time outside Africa. But if you look at Malawi, you look at Ghana, you look at Zimbabwe, you look at Kenya, you will find there is centers of excellence in all these countries. What will be the best way to utilize that in a unified way, where just one-stop place where you can find all the information? This is now a knowledge-based economy. The world is going towards that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Dusui. This actually is the essence of calling for dialogue of this nature. We need certainly the contribution of the African in diaspora, and RUForum as a consortium of universities across the continent is presently acting as the clearinghouse. And so we want to hear from you, and we want, for example, at the Secretariat, Professor Kwamu, to be able to put together everyone's ideas and contribution. So you are welcome, even as you are there in the United States. We have already started establishing centers of excellence across the continent, and the universities are acting as such. If you have ideas, please, let's contribute. Africa will feed the world. Africa must feed itself. Africa needs what everyone else can bring to the table in order for us, like I just saw a while ago from Ghana, we need to better the best we already have. But perhaps I can hear from someone else. The floor is open. Julius Ochudo, are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
Proceed.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for allowing me to make a comment here. Thank you very much. Hearing from most of the experts that have already talked and others that are going to talk. But my comment is this, colleagues. We are told many times that Africa has large acreage of arable land that should be used for agriculture. Most of the African countries keep on reminding us also that agriculture is the mainstay of our economies. But I'm always disappointed that we are not investing enough in agriculture. Our budgets for agriculture are always wanting, to the extent that local agricultural research and extension systems are always suffering from under-budgeting. And I had the Minister for Agriculture for Malawi, for example, a few minutes ago say that a combination of scientists and politicians would make a powerful group. I am just wondering, are our governments using the scientists that we have properly and adequately? So my worry is, even as we talk about food systems and the kind of research that should go into it, my big worry is, are we investing enough in agriculture? And at the same time, in bringing together the scientists and the politicians who are the leaders of our countries together so that we can have this powerful synergistic effect and results that we so deserve. Your Excellencies, that is my comment. I would wish that someone would address it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we hear from Anna Nemba? Can we hear from Anna Nemba? Are you there? Ms. Anna Nemba? Well, it looks like, can we hear from Larry Schaefer?
Your Excellency. Welcome to everyone who is listening to my voice. all the excellencies there in the room and on the virtual. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great.
Okay, great.
I am from Virginia. My name is Larry Schaefer in the United States. We
We
specialize
specialize in aquaponics,
and we
and
bring
we
other
bring other
technologies like solar and underground water storage and filtration systems, as well as some other technologies for community development like waste to energy and sewage conversion to potable water and some road technologies. We see the opportunities like we've engaged with Cameroon, Burkina Faso, South Africa, to invest in the development of the human capital, like what's been expressed before in workforce development training programs, bringing in agriculture technologies like aquaponics, because the only way you're going to improve your agriculture industry is to not rely on your natural environment. So many countries say they have the best soil. Well, the reason why you have the best soil is because you haven't done agriculture on it. As soon as you start doing agriculture on it, you're going to destroy your soil. If you try to implement Western technologies with big industry, heavy fertilizers, mechanization, all of those things that are harmful to the environment, deforestation is a problem in many countries. That's the last thing you want to do. So maximizing the space that you have available, breaking it down to the local village level, working with the local tribal leadership, is really the only way. So put together a large agriculture infrastructure development fund so that these things can be done, so we can empower the local people, transfer ownership to all of the local people so that they can own their own systems and we can begin to empower people.
Excellent. Larry, that was great. Thank you. Can we hear from Paul Mbugwa?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Am I muted again?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm calling from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. My observation first is to congratulate Professor Adipala and the entire team that has been working so hard. And also reiterate the fact that when we put accountability, I think that's the right way to go. However, I wanted to get some guidelines as to how do we go about that? Because this is a big issue where you have people in the public arena, they are given responsibility of public funding and so on, and they are not really honest. I don't know how we go about that. But on the other hand, I see a great forum that is coming up through Forum and other bodies that is helping us finally to put Africa together. So there is a hope for this nation. And I really liked your comment, Your Excellency, on that we better the better. And yet at the same time, we take care of what is there. I'm talking of issues of biodiversity, issues of transport, issues of taking care of the very poor, and taking care of our economies right from the bottom to the very top. So I was putting this across to ourselves through even the rest of the excellencies that are attending this meeting. Is a very critical meeting. And for some of us who have been with the forum for a number of years, we are really excited that we have got to this level. But I want to also to point out that we need to keep fighting and going on focused and with one direction, and yet at the same time united as Africa. Otherwise, when we are disunited, when everybody is pulling in their direction, it is not good enough. So as Kenyans, we know we can do it, the much we can, but we cannot do better. We can do better if we bring Malawi on board, if we bring Tanzania on board, the whole of Africa pulling together and focusing on doing something that is useful to our population. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm really grateful. Can we hear from Matia Mukama?
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I'm happy to be speaking on this dialogue with all the heads of state. My concern is as we build food systems within Africa, most times, most of the talk focuses on increasing production. But when you move across the continent, especially around our markets, you'll always find piles of rotting food on the side of the roads, on the side of the markets every evening. So that means we need to focus more on the post-harvest technologies. Most of our farmers don't have the basics of things like cold chains after they harvest their food. Most of the food, not especially the fruits and vegetables, most times go to waste because these are perishables that need to be cooled to last longer. But if you look at the prices of electricity in our countries and the development of these chains with the farmers is very lacking. So that's something we need to focus on. Improve cold chains for the farmers through farmer groups, try to improve the transportation of the food. And there has been an issue of aflatoxins, especially in the East African belt. And these issues stem from poor post-harvest management, especially the drying of the grain and the storage and transport thereafter. The farmers are lacking in this. So let's not mainly focus on increasing the amounts we produce, but let's also conserve the little that we are producing through harvest.
Thank you so much. Let's now hear from Mangani Chilala Katundu.
Thank you, Excellency, and all the heads of state for this opportunity to make a contribution. We do know that there is a lot of contribution that is made by small-scale farmers who sometimes are referred to as subsistence farmers to food security. We do know that although the food security at the small-scale level is valuable, it has the problem that it does not necessarily help to take farmers out of poverty. I was of the opinion that it might be very important to promote aggregation of some of the small lands so that there is increased productivity and that the farmer cooperatives are able to market their produce at good prices and that they do have the access to the markets, in addition to the fact that there's important for value addition. The previous speaker had talked about reducing waste. The waste would be in form of the post-harvest losses, but in some cases, it's the fact that even what they produce, they are unable to market at good prices. So it's important that we build in aggregated production, increased access to markets, as well as access to markets that are valuable for farmers within the value chain. There is a lot of farms that are lying idle that could be used in different parts of Africa to make sure that there is commercialized farming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we hear from General Malik from Sudan?
Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Yeah, good morning, head of state and the participant in the forum here. Greeting you from Sudan. Yeah, okay. Start my video, okay. His Excellencies and head of states and participants.
We can't hear you now.
We can't hear you.
Mike.
Can you hear us?
And do you hear?
Yes. Go ahead now.
Yeah, I'm saying that greetings from the Sudanese people and the government. I'm happy to be participating in this important forum. Of course, we are actually tackling a very live and threatening issue if we don't go into it, that is agriculture. So Africa is actually done with the arable land that is people have to be using, but we are lacking the sometimes technology, sometimes a will of carrying out our activities as countries. So this time, and you know, we in Africa, we talk so much about Africanism, but Africanism that does not provide products and to its people, is people cannot actually appreciate it. So we need to produce in this one. Some countries have the opportunities and the facilities and then the technology to do that. And some of the countries were actually bogged down by civil problems within their countries. Sudan is one of them. So most of the countries, especially those who have been in wars and East African region, they were actually bogged down by so many problems, internal problems and civil wars. So, and also burdened by the debts, the foreign debts. And I'm living in one of these countries that are burdened by the debts. So in Sudan, this forum is very important to us so that we are included in part of it, so that we actually reach together with rest of the Africans, the African vision of 2063, and achieve the goals of 1530 together, because they are very important, so that the African countries develop together, and so that none of the African countries pull others back when they are not developing. When you have poor countries, when you have poor people, then you have poor performances, then you have poor production, then you have poor outlet to your products and all these things. So we are actually happy that this forum is happening, and Sudan has to be included for it. Sudan is one of the richest land for the agriculture. It might be lacking the facilities, the technology, and also, as I said, is bogged down by the war for 15 years. Now we have signed a peace agreement and a peace Juba agreement, and Sudan and the revolutionary. So we are actually approaching the transformation of the country economically and institutionally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General. Can we hear from from the African Development Bank? If the African Development Bank is not available, maybe we can hear from Benin.
Votre Excellence, Dr. Lazarus Jaguar, President de la République de Malawi.
The State President of the Republic of Malawi,
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I can't hear the minister. The minister needs to unmute.
Honorable Minister, can you hear us?
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Can you hear us?
Oui, mais je vous entends, moi aussi, j'ai ouvert le micro.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oui, on vous reçoit, Monsieur le ministre. On vous reçoit.
Okay, we
Yes,
seem
I
to
can
have
hear
lost
you.
the minister from Benin.
Votre Excellence.
Your Excellency,
Mccarthy,
Dr. Lazarus,
Jaguar, président de la République de Malawi,
President of the Republic of Malawi,
distingué chef d'État et de gouvernement,
distinguished
chers collègues, membres de gouvernement, chers délégués, je voudrais présenter les excuses du président de la République du Bénin, le président Patrice Talon, qui m'a permis de porter sa voix ici à cette tribune. Je voudrais d'entrée adresser mes félicitations et remerciements au nom de mon pays et de mon président à votre Excellence, président de la République de Malawi, pour avoir été l'hôte de ce dialogue sur les systèmes alimentaires des chefs d'État africains. Je comprends que ce dialogue contribuera à tracer une vision et une voie commune du continent africain sous la forme d'interventions nécessaires pour transformer nos systèmes alimentaires. Et je voudrais vous dire toute ma joie pour l'opportunité qui m'est offerte de me prononcer sur l'avenir des systèmes alimentaires sur notre continent. Mes remerciements vont également aux différents acteurs et ouvriers de l'ombre dont l'engagement et les efforts ont été déterminants à différentes étapes du processus que nous célébrons aujourd'hui à travers le présent pré-sommet. Excellence, Monsieur le Président de Malawi, je voudrais réaffirmer l'engagement de mon pays, de son gouvernement et de moi-même à éradiquer la pauvreté sous toutes ses formes et dimensions, y compris l'extrême pauvreté, car il s'agit d'une condition indispensable non seulement pour la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable, mais aussi pour les 15 autres ODD. La plupart des gouvernements africains ont réajusté leur politique nationale sur les objectifs pour améliorer les conditions de vie. Bien que les progrès aient été impressionnants, il reste encore beaucoup à faire, car nous demeurons un grand importateur de produits alimentaires, et ce, malgré que nous disposons de 60% des terres arables non cultivées du monde. L'examen des progrès actuels sur les engagements pris pour la réalisation des ODD à l'horizon 2030 a révélé que la plupart des pays et la majorité en Afrique sont en retard pour les atteindre. Je salue donc la décision du secrétaire général des Nations Unies, M. Antonio Guterres, d'avoir pris l'initiative de convoquer le sommet sur les systèmes alimentaires en octobre 2021 pour remodeler le cadre de la réalisation du programme 2030 pour le développement durable et surtout les actions et interventions nécessaires pour réformer nos systèmes alimentaires. Il s'agit donc, Monsieur le Président, d'un événement important auquel mon pays ne saurait dérober, d'où la participation du Bénin à ce dialogue préparatoire au 10 sommet. Avec votre permission, je voudrais faire remarquer que ce pré-sommet, puisque c'est bien de ça qu'il s'agit, intervient dans un contexte marqué par de nouveaux challenges pour notre continent. Permettez-moi d'insister sur deux de ces défis, ceux qui me paraissent les plus importants. La pandémie de la COVID-19, les crises sécuritaires alimentées par le terrorisme, phénomène qui affecte à différents degrés les sous-espaces de notre continent. C'est donc autour de ces deux nouveaux challenges que je souhaite partager ma réflexion et proposer quelques lignes directrices pour construire des systèmes alimentaires plus résilients à même d'assurer une meilleure sécurité alimentaire, plus résiliente et même à même d'assurer une meilleure sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle, voire une autosuffisance alimentaire pour notre cher et beau continent, l'Afrique. Mais avant tout, je tiens à rappeler quelques caractéristiques majeures des systèmes alimentaires en Afrique, des systèmes alimentaires particulièrement extravertis et interdépendants pour me limiter aux aspects qui me paraissent les plus marquants. En effet, la balance commerciale agricole est déficitaire dans la quasi-totalité de nos pays et les importations de denrées alimentaires pèsent lourdement sur la balance des paiements. Une tendance favorisée, entre autres, par un mode de consommation extraverti, stimulé, voire ténaillé par des modèles dominants, d'une part, et des faiblesses structurelles de nos systèmes de production sur certaines denrées alimentaires de base. Quant à l'interdépendance des systèmes alimentaires sur notre continent, elle se réfère, entre autres, à la complémentarité permanente ou conjoncturelle et parfois réversible entre les pays africains pour certains produits alimentaires de base, d'une part, et à l'effet structurant, limité des frontières nationales dans les échanges de produits alimentaires par endroit, d'autre part. Monsieur le Président du Malawi, cher hôte de cette conférence, distingués chefs d'État et de gouvernement, si l'on peut se féliciter de l'interdépendance des systèmes alimentaires sur notre continent, même si celle-ci mérite d'être mieux pensée et optimisée, il n'en est pas de même de l'extraversion des dix systèmes. L'extraversion apparaît aujourd'hui comme un nœud pervers auquel nos systèmes alimentaires sont confrontés, un nœud qu'il devient nécessaire de défaire à tout prix à travers le renforcement des échanges intercommunautaires en développant des politiques publiques centrées davantage sur la production des denrées pour lesquelles l'Afrique est déficitaire, quoique disposant des avantages comparatifs. L'Afrique doit produire davantage, tant en quantité qu'en qualité, pour nourrir l'Afrique. Bien entendu, dans notre marche que je voudrais commune face à cette perspective, nous nous trouvons en face d'un défi important, le terrorisme, un fléau qui frappe particulièrement certains de nos pays, en l'occurrence les pays sahéliens, dont les systèmes de production déjà gravement affectés par les changements climatiques et la COVID-19 se retrouvent déstabilisés, situation qui devrait certainement durer dans le temps. Il s'ensuit un déséquilibre dans les flux entre les pays les plus touchés et les pays côtiers habituellement pourvoyeurs de produits céréaliers, dont les stocks sont de plus en plus soumis à de plus fortes pressions, avec comme conséquence la flambée des prix et les risques d'explosion sociale. Parallèlement, les pays côtiers habituellement dépendants des pays sahéliens pour leur approvisionnement en produits animaux, surtout, se trouvent affectés. Les perspectives donc des systèmes alimentaires moins extravertis s'en trouvent davantage hypothéquées face aux facteurs aggravants que constitue le terrorisme. À la lumière de ce qui précède, j'ose dire que le terrorisme, de par ses corollaires, constitue désormais l'une des plus importantes menaces, pour ne pas dire la plus importante, sur les systèmes alimentaires en Afrique aujourd'hui et durant les années à venir. En attendant que les dialogues politiques engagés ici et là autour des crises sécuritaires produisent leurs effets, l'opinion serait de renforcer les bases de production dans les pays côtiers, de même que dans les régions sécurisées au niveau des pays durement confrontés au terrorisme. Ceci passe par le développement d'une vision commune, reposant sur une meilleure autonomie alimentaire de l'Afrique et une augmentation des investissements structurants pour booster les productions végétales, animales et halieutiques. Il s'agit également de travailler pour soutenir nos systèmes éducatifs y compris la formation technique et professionnelle et les universités, afin de produire les professionnels et les penseurs de haut et moyen niveau qui généreront les solutions pour libérer le potentiel de notre agriculture, créant ainsi des emplois et des opportunités pour tous les groupes sociaux. Nous devons également allouer plus de ressources à la recherche en sciences, technologies et innovations pour soutenir le secteur agricole et augmenter notre potentiel pour devenir autosuffisants. Face à ces contraintes budgétaires auxquelles nos pays sont confrontés, la solidarité internationale apparaît comme le levier majeur à activer pour y parvenir. C'est pourquoi je voudrais lancer du haut de cette tribune et sous votre autorité un vibrant appel à nos gouvernements, aux organisations régionales et internationales, aux centres de recherche et au secteur privé pour un nouvel élan en vue de renforcer la capacité productive et de transformation des produits agroalimentaires en Afrique. Distingués chefs d'État, mesdames, messieurs, notre dialogue d'aujourd'hui est la preuve que nous reconnaissons tous que l'enjeu est de taille et les délibérations devraient l'être aussi. Dans l'attente d'une voie africaine commune pour le sommet des Nations Unies sur les systèmes alimentaires en octobre 2021, je souhaite vous rassurer de l'engagement de mon pays et de mon peuple. Vive l'agriculture africaine, vive les systèmes alimentaires moins extravertis et résilients. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. It's the...
Merci, President.
Yes.
Thank you, President.
Good to see you. Is it Dr. Adesina or a representative of African Development Bank?
Yes, Your Excellency.
All right.
My name is Leila Dem. I am the Director General of Southern Africa Hub. And the President Adesina asked me to represent him. He couldn't attend. So Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, honorable ministers, representatives from all distinguished organizations represented here, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, greetings from the African Development Bank. It's a great honor for me to attend this pre-UN Food Summit Systems 2021 dialogue on behalf of Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group. On his behalf, I wish to particularly thank His Excellency President Lazarus Mccarthy Chakwera of Malawi for his invitation and for his remarkable leadership in supporting the Africa's agriculture transformation and skill development agendas. The agriculture sector stands out as a major source of income, livelihoods, and employment for Africa's youth, but faces a number of challenges. The sector employs more than 80% of the labor force in sub-Saharan Africa. For rural African inhabitants, agriculture remains the single largest source of employment and income. Agriculture plays an even more significant role in the lives of the poor who remain primarily rural and either directly engaged in farming or dependent on farming-related activities. Despite this, the sector has not been performing well in the region as it should be. Average yields are low in Africa compared to other regions. Africa has more than half of the world's fertile yet unused land and uses only 2% of its renewable water resources. Yet about a quarter of the population experiences hunger in Africa. Out of an estimated of 795 million people suffering from chronic undernourishment globally, 220 million live in sub-Saharan Africa. Even with such dismissal performance, most African countries want to transform into semi-industrialized economies through increasing agricultural productivity. At the African Development Bank, we strongly believe that one way of increasing agricultural productivity is strengthening its linkages with industry through agro-processing and providing value addition to agricultural products, as well as improving post-harvest operations, storage, distribution, and logistics. What this means is the need for us to move away from viewing agriculture as a way of life for millions of low-skilled rural people, to viewing it as a business, what is referred to as agribusiness. Agribusiness is a profitable enterprise constituting on-farm and off-farm activities, as well as various value chain related opportunities such as packaging, handling, processing, warehousing, transport, marketing, distribution, and financing. It is defined broadly to cover input suppliers, agro-processors, traders, exporters, and retailers. It is estimated that with its vast agricultural potential, Africa's agribusiness sector is predicted to reach $1 trillion by 2030, up from $313 billion in 2013. This offers the potential to create more jobs for unemployed youth and create opportunities for Africa's small-scale farmers to integrate and compete into the global value chains. Agribusiness and agrobusiness accounted for more than 30% of Africa's national incomes in 2014. Scaling up agribusiness offers value addition through commodity-based industrialization that exploit forward and backward linkages with the rest of the economy. The need for agribusiness development in Africa is undeniable, especially for its largely young and rural population, and should therefore be priority for governments and other stakeholders in thinking about the continent's economic transformation. The African Development Bank has been supporting regional member countries to implement a number of ongoing initiatives that are geared towards attracting young people to agribusiness. In 2016, the bank launched the Enable Youth Empowering Novel Agribusiness-Led Employment program to help youth in Africa to incubate and scale up their agribusiness enterprises through access to financing. Through the Enable Youth program, the bank is committed to investing about 12.75 billion euros in youth agribusiness enterprises over the next 10 years, with the aim of creating 300,000 agribusinesses and 1.5 million jobs within 5 years in over 20 countries. The bank also supports agro-industrial transformation through its special agro-industrial processing zones, what we call SAPZ, flagship program. These are agro-based special development initiatives aimed at concentrating agro-processing activities within areas of high agricultural potential to spur productivity and integrate production, processing, and marketing of selected commodities. By 2025, the bank will have created SAPZ in 16 countries, including Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Guinea, Kenya, Liberia, Madagascar, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. These zones will be set aside and managed for agribusinesses and food manufacturing industries and other agro-allied industries. They will be enabled with the right policies and infrastructure such as roads, energy, irrigation, rail, ICT, waste management, and ports to help reduce business transaction costs and could benefit from government subsidies. In 2018, the bank unveiled a new multi-sectoral nutrition action plan aimed at scaling up the proportion of investments that are nutrition smart in agriculture, health, water and sanitation, hygiene, and related social sectors. This is premised on the fact that Africa needs to invest in grey infrastructure, that is the brain power, through early nutritional interventions. Close to 36% of children under the age of 5 in Africa are chronically undernourished, and 8.5% of children are acutely undernourished. Stunting not only affects physical growth, but also leads to irreversible cognitive deficit due to poor brain development, thus limiting children's capacity to acquire core skills. Africa needs to build and harness the necessary gray matter infrastructure that will form the foundation for its future by investing in gray infrastructure to ensure the achievement of positive nutrition outcomes in the first 1,000 days of children's lives. Investing in science, technology, and research, as well entrepreneurship, is key to boost agricultural productivity and value addition, which in turn will help reduce food insecurity, malnutrition, unemployment, and increase incomes. So for example, when we look at the engineer and mathematics, the STEM and education system, less than 34% of students in higher education are enrolled in STEM. And the gender gap is pronounced with only 25% of female students enrolled in STEM. The continent also underinvests in research and development with only 0.4% of GDP invested compared to 1.7% globally. And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed Africa's failure to invest in STEM, making it challenging for the scientists and researchers to develop homegrown and sustainable solutions for African problems. Along this line, the bank, with the support from the South Korean government, is implementing a project aimed at improving the quality of higher education in Africa, mainly through entrepreneurship and incubation development, drawing on lessons from South Korea. The project, which is being implemented by the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, the RU Forum, has brokered technical experts, mainly from Asia, that are currently supporting the setting up of incubation hubs and training of university faculty and students in entrepreneurship development in 2 African universities, namely Mbarara University of Science and Technology in Uganda and University du Sine Saloum Al-Hadi Ibrahima in Senegal. Leveraging on lessons being learned, the project intends to scale up to other universities, giving the strong urge to support young entrepreneurs and teach entrepreneurship. Today, technologies exist to feed Africa if they are widely deployed. Technologies include high-yielding crop varieties and livestock breeds, biofortified crops such as provitamin A, rich cassava, high iron and zinc rice, and high zinc sorghum, etc. What is missing, taking these technologies to farmers at scale. Also missing a well-coordinated food production technology delivery platform to help address all the related issues of extension, training, policy, market, institutional and research and development, as well as regulatory issues hindering the widespread use of these technologies. The African Development Bank's Technologies for African Agriculture Transformation framework, the TATS framework, was approved in November 2017 and aims to harness proven technologies to raise agricultural productivity in Africa, mitigate the risks, and promote diversification and processing in 18 agriculture value chains within 8 priority interventions. Overall, it aims to increase food output, by 100 million tons and lift 40 million people out of poverty by 2025. At the African Development Bank, we recognize that skills development systems and African universities have a key role to play in strengthening the food system's value chains. Drawing on lessons on the needs to reduce skills gap and invest more in research and development for innovation and economic transformation, the bank is preparing an action plan on skills for employability and productivity in Africa 2021-2025. The bank has identified the need to assist regional member countries in investing in skills development infrastructure with a focus on TVET and STEM, and strengthening the enable environment for skills development. The focus will be on building demand-driven skills for employment and self-employment. The demand-driven aspect reflects the need to build skills to meet labor markets needs in priority economic sectors and value chain, including agriculture and food systems. With that, Your Excellency, I will stop there and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. His Excellency Carlos Agostinho de Rosario, Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, is ready to contribute. From Mozambique. Can you hear me?
Mozambique, are you ready? We understand His Excellency is ready to address us. Mozambique? Mozambique, are you ready?
I can see.
I think Uganda is ready, Your Excellency.
Uganda, you are ready now, Your Excellency? Yes. Mzee. Karibuni Mzee. You're welcome. Go ahead. I can't hear you.
Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Your Excellency. Can you hear us?
We can't hear you.
I'm fine.
Ah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Jaguar and state and government presidents. You hear me now? Okay. I am very happy that His Excellency organized this virtual summit to prepare before the UN conference. The issue of food security is very, very important. Man was able to stabilize his life more than 10,000 years ago when he learned how to domesticate animals and also to domesticate crops. That's how people were able to have a stable life. It is therefore a shame to hear that even today in the world, there are people who do not have food. This is really not acceptable. Here in Uganda, we don't have a problem of food. We have a lot of, in spite of having some things we have not yet done, like for instance, irrigation has been done in a few areas. We don't use so much fertilizers yet. Some of the people do not use the improved agro practices. In spite of all that, we have got a lot of production of food and other crops in Uganda. We have got big production of coffee, almost approaching 9 million bags now. A lot of production of maize, 5 million tons. A lot of production of bananas, of Irish potatoes, of cassava, and so on. With 15 million cows. So in spite of having still some gaps, we have a lot of production in Uganda. Once we, like on the side of bananas, the production now, the yield per hectare is now 5.3 tons per year. But if we do the things in a more modern way, like we have done in some of the government experimental stations, we can go to 53 tons per year. In spite of all that, we have got a lot of production now. So much so that our problem in Uganda is surplus, not shortages. We've got a lot of production. Therefore, for us, one of the problems is actually marketing. Because of trade restrictions, you find that we have food here. In other parts of Africa, they don't have food, but we cannot sell what we have here because there are some blockages here, some blockages there. So that's one of the factors that should be looked at. I have been struggling with our Ugandans here. For instance, we have now got big production of sugar, but Uganda is not the best producer of sugar in terms of how much sugar you can recover from sugar cane. This is because we have got a lot of rain here. We have got a lot of rain, and apparently sugar cane needs areas which are a bit hot. So therefore, you find that countries like Swaziland produce sugar more easily than Uganda, although we have a lot of rain. The rain is not so good for sugar. Therefore, in our discussion, Your Excellency, in your discussion, if you could look at the issue of free access of the market, free movement of goods, instead of these controls, because if Swaziland is producing sugar more efficiently than Uganda, why does Uganda also insist on producing sugar? And then we must put taxes to stop the Swaziland sugar from coming here. This is not correct. I think if we take the line that the one who produces most efficiently should be the one to be supported and then supply to the others, and we introduce an element of specialization, things can be much better. I thank you so much for organizing the summit. I wish you success. Thank you so much.
Do we have Mozambique now?
Your Excellency, Zimbabwe is ready.
Oh, Zimbabwe. Your Excellency.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Excellency, I had some other engagements. I had been allocated time later than now. But I'm ready to make my statement.
All right.
Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Malawi, and the summit host, Professor Jaguar, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, heads of regional organizations and United Nations agencies, distinguished guests, I'm pleased to attend this United Nations Pre-Food Systems Summit Dialogue, which affords us a chance to discuss challenges and opportunities in Africa's food systems. Although our economies are diversified, agriculture remains one of Africa's direct routes to end poverty and reduce hunger and malnutrition in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The importance of this sector to food security, job and wealth creation, as well as agro-based industrialization, among other aspects, is equally critical. The theme for the national dialogue, and I quote, agriculture, production, and food systems transformation, end of quote, highlights the centrality of a multiple stakeholder approach to agriculture transformation. As we engage in this dialogue, it is also important that African countries systematically proffer an all-inclusive course that builds on efforts already underway through various key players. In the case of Zimbabwe, the present economic blueprint, the National Development Strategy 1, which is 2021 to 2025, as well as the Agriculture and the Food Systems Transformation Strategy, situates the agricultural sector as having a critical role in the overall development and the growth of our economy. This is anchored on food and nutrition security, import substitution, exports, generation, employment creation, and raising of household incomes. This has led to the prioritization of climate-proof production and productivity with regards to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Equally, enhancing sustainable production and productivity in maize, traditional grains, and the soybeans, along with the associated value chains development, remain high on our agenda. Additionally, supportive policy instruments and institutions have had far-reaching positive impacts on farmers' access to mechanization and finance, capacity building, and agro-processing facilities. The setting up of agro-based rural industry structures and systems is also on course. Other areas of focus in the agriculture sector include ensuring access to safe and nutritious food for all, shifting to sustainable consumption patterns, boosting nature-positive production at sufficient scales, advancing equitable livelihoods and value distribution. Building resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stress. In conclusion, Your Excellency, the food systems dialogues provide practical lessons and a shared knowledge on additional measures to strengthen our respective food systems. The perspectives shared on this forum further support evidence-based policy making. This will ensure greater collaboration among governments, research institutions in our respective countries, the private sector and the smallholder farmers to develop viable solutions to accelerate and strengthen food systems and the agricultural sector in general. Zimbabwe stands ready to play its part to end hunger and poverty, thereby guaranteeing a better quality of life for all our people. Thank you for listening, Your Excellency. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President of Zimbabwe. And now, if we can hear from Mozambique, we'll be coming close to closing this part of the discussion. Ms. Ana Nemba from Mozambique. You are back now. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you so much, Excellency.
Good to see you.
Presidente Malawi, Sua Excelência, chefes de Estado e do Governo dos países da União Africana, todo o protocolo observado. Gostaria de, em nome de Sua Excelência Felipe Jacinto Nyusi, Presidente de Moçambique, a quem tenho a honra de representar, saudar a todos os participantes neste evento. Associamos-nos aos oradores que nos precederam, saudando a Sua Excelência o Presidente de Malawi e pela organização deste evento. Estamos esperançados que este evento, que reúne decisores políticos e académicos, produza propostas de soluções concretas que assegure a transformação de sistemas alimentares rumo ao alcance dos objetivos do desenvolvimento sustentável. Moçambique iniciou, no passado mês de maio, o roteio da sua participação na Cimeira Mundial dos Sistemas Alimentares, com a realização de reuniões de consulta ao nível nacional no âmbito do alinhamento com a abordagem das Nações Unidas. Estas reuniões, que contaram com a participação do setor privado, sociedade civil, académicos, comunidades locais e parceiros de desenvolvimento, focalizaram-se em 3 grandes áreas prioritárias, nomeadamente, pilar 1, sistemas de segurança alimentar e nutricional, correspondentes às ações temáticas 1 e 2 das Nações Unidas. Pilar 2, cadeias de valor de sistemas alimentares, correspondentes às ações temáticas 3 e 4 das Nações Unidas. Pilar 3, conflitos, resiliência e mudanças climáticas, para responder à ação temática 5 das Nações Unidas. Nos debates havidos, partiu-se do pressuposto de que, em Moçambique, os sistemas alimentares sempre constituíram uma prioridade da nossa ação governativa, tendo em conta que a agenda de desenvolvimento, tendo em conta que o nosso país conta com mais de 70% de população economicamente ativa, dependendo da agricultura e pesca, como principal fonte da subsistência e geração de renda. A par disso, tivemos igualmente em conta que no nosso país a atividade agrícola continua sendo de subsistência alimentar, caracterizada por fraco uso de insumos melhorados e elevadas perdas pós-colheitas, o que contribui para uma baixa produção e produtividade, bem como o registro de focos de insegurança alimentar. Com vista a ultrapassar esses desafios e outros constrangimentos que inibem o desenvolvimento dos sistemas alimentares em Moçambique, houve consenso a nível do diálogo nacional sobre as necessidades de reforçarmos cada vez mais a implementação de reformas e políticas que concorram para o seguinte: aumento da produção e produtividade, aumento da capacidade de processamento apostando numa abordagem de produção local versus consumo local, inclusão e facilidade do acesso ao financiamento melhoria das vias de acesso para assegurar a eficiência nas trocas comerciais, educação alimentar e nutricional, proteção de ecossistemas, adaptando medidas de mitigação que criam resiliência em face de eventos climáticos adversos. Acreditamos que essas ações que se enquadram no programa quinquenal do nosso governo irão concorrer para acelerar a transformação dos sistemas alimentares nacionais e, desta forma, caminharmos de forma firme para alcançarmos os objetivos do desenvolvimento sustentável. Gostaríamos de partilhar igualmente que iniciamos, após a conclusão das reuniões nacionais, com o processo de harmonização dos compromissos nacionais, o que culminará com a adoção de um conjunto de ações que asseguram um sistema alimentar sustentável, resiliente, equilibrado e equitativo. É a nossa convicção que o sucesso da transformação dos sistemas alimentares requer envolvimento, coordenação e interligação entre os diferentes atores estatais e não estatais a nível interno e internacional. A terminar, excelências, gostaríamos, em nome de Sua Excelência, o Presidente da República de Moçambique, reafirmar a disponibilidade de Moçambique em continuar a participar ativamente na preparação da Cimeira Global sobre sistemas alimentares. Muito obrigado, excelências.
Muito obrigado. Your Excellencies, I know there may still be others wanting to contribute, but perhaps we can, in the interest of time, proceed on to have a presentation of a summit declaration. Do I see a hand somewhere?
Your Excellency, Rwanda is ready.
Oh, Rwanda. Yeah, please, come on. Can you hear me?
Rwanda, are you there? Can you hear us?
No.
Can you hear us, Rwanda?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay,
Thank
fantastic.
you. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, the dear participants. I want to thank Malawi for hosting this initiative. That is a pre-summit for the food system. And I want to bring to you warm welcomes from His Excellency Paul Kagame, who really wished to be with you, Mr. President, but due to prior engagement, he could not make it. But he's really committed to the initiatives that you are leading. So in Rwanda, we have been engaging in these dialogues that are preparing the food system. And we recognize prior initiatives that helped us to reach where we are in terms of food security, nutrition, and poverty eradication. And we have, through engagements, identified initiatives that we feel are really important for us and for Africa, because strangely, we find a huge proportion of hungry people in our continent, and it's not really acceptable given the amount of land that we have. So we feel like continuing engaging into sustainable food production by increasing productivity of crops and livestock, it's really important. And we want to engage research and technology all the way from production, from farm to the plate. We also feel like increasing smart irrigation and precision agriculture can help us as a continent to move from climatic vulnerability. We also have identified that setting up and upgrading agricultural infrastructures that can help us to reduce food losses that we incur after they have been harvested. That means doing whatever it takes to make sure that we are eliminating post-harvest losses to be important. We also identified scaling up a few initiatives such as school feedings and early childhood development centers can help us to make sure that no one is left behind, but also our kids can have access to food while they are in these centers, in case the families cannot afford it, which means it's really important that we cater the nutrition issues that we still have as a continent. We also have identified issues to address issues associated with processing of our food so that we can be successfully linked to the trade can help. Lastly, women and youth are going to be the center of the transformation of our food systems, making sure that our small-scale farmers, our young people, our women are having the right skills, and we are developing targeted financing products that can be targeted to them, can help us to make good progress. I want to thank you once again, Mr. President, for associating Rwanda with this initiative that you are hosting.
Thank you very much. I am most grateful for all of these contributions, and they have come from Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, from ministers, from technical people. The jargon was, can we have politicians and scientists talk to each other, you know, come together and follow through with so many ideas that are being promulgated. And I think this is a wonderful chance for us to have that kind of dialogue. Unless there is someone else with a burning desire to say something, we would want to proceed now and have the summit declaration. All of our rapporteurs and so forth, if you are able to do this. Honorable Minister of Education, Republic of Malawi, Agnes Makonda Nyaronje.
Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar, President of the Republic of Malawi, the host of the UN Food Systems Pre-Summit Dialogue. All Excellencies, heads of state and government, all ministers present and other government dignitaries from the different countries, distinguished delegates and participants. It is an honor and a privilege for me to now read the Lilongwe Declaration, which is based on a university policy dialogue on strengthening food systems for improved productivity, inclusivity, and resilience. A pre-UN Food Systems Summit 2021 Independent Dialogue. We, the African heads of state, convening for this university policy dialogue on strengthening food systems for improved productivity, inclusivity, and Resilience on 1st July 2021, note that Africa is home to nearly 1.4 billion people, or about 17% of the world population. We note that the vast majority of these people live in rural Africa, deriving their livelihoods from land, basically through agriculture and related resources, and that with 60% of Africa's population dependent on agriculture, it is clear that a vibrant agricultural sector must be part of the solution to create inclusive development on the continent. Number two, we note that vibrant agri-food systems and institutions engaged in the agricultural value chain from food production to food consumption are key to delivery of the continent's Development Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, and to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Number three, we recognize that urbanization, together with modernization of the continent's food systems, generate risks and opportunities, and that they create the need to institute appropriate measures to collectively realize sustainable and resilient food systems that meet Africa's food and nutrition needs. Number four, we acknowledge that Africa has to build human, financial, infrastructure capacity to mitigate natural and man-made disasters, including pandemics, locusts, floods, drought, and other climate change and related risks that contribute to the fragility of the agri-food systems. Number five, we recognize that for Africa to realize its full agricultural potential to bolster its food systems, there is need for significant investment in key productivity enhancing innovations to harness science-based solutions for growth. Number six, we recognize that there is need for an interdisciplinary focus on the factors that contribute to the fragility of the agri-food systems in Africa, including but not limited to epidemics, emerging and re-emerging diseases. We, the African heads of states, attending the University Policy Dialogue for Strengthening Food Systems for Improved Productivity, Inclusivity and Resilience, a pre-UN Food Systems Summit dialogue, are aware that current trends and transformations being observed in Africa's food systems are outcomes of policies and public investment patterns of prior decades, and note that the future will be shaped and transformed by today's investment and policy actions. We hereby, number one, reiterate our commitment to Africa's Agenda 2063, the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CAADP, the Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy for Africa, STISA 2024, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. Number two, we hereby endorse the declarations of the African Ministers Pre-UN Food Systems Summit Dialogue of 9th June 2021. We hereby agree to, number one, on strengthening agri-food systems. We commit to strengthen production fundamentals such as research and innovation to direct how we leverage our production resources, generate relevant technologies, test and incubate and transfer and protect intellectual property rights, IPR, of these technologies, guide health and climate-induced threat surveillance, and inform policy design and accountability. Number two, we commit to foster global partnerships to develop more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient food systems that consider the needs of smallholder farmers, the youth, and women. Number three, we commit to implement the actions agreed upon during the UN Food Systems Summit 2021. The second area on strengthening linkages within within and across the education sector. Number 4, we commit to invest strongly in education value chain across universities and vocational colleges to leverage secondary and primary education to upgrade skills levels of young people entering the labor force. We commit to work collaboratively with African universities and other actors in and outside Africa to marshal the needed capacity to strengthen Africa's food systems and to scale up best practices, including for, but not limited to, increased value addition and reduction in high post-harvest losses. We commit to pursue the requisite partnerships to operationalize the strengthening higher agricultural education in Africa initiative, the strengthening Africa's science, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship capacity for agricultural and economic development, SASTI, and for building Africa's science, technology, and innovation, BASTIC, capacity, as encapsulated in the African Ministers' Communique of 5th December 2019 in Cape Coast, Ghana. A third area on partnerships for strengthening food and nutrition security. We commit to actively engage in the European Union, African Union Partnership on food nutrition security and sustainable agriculture initiative, the African Union, European Union Research Innovation Partnership on climate change, green circular economy, and sustainable energy, the Global Research Alliance on Agriculture Greenhouse Gases, GRA, and other continental and global initiatives. We recognize that co-developing, co-ownership, and joint implementation of the UN Food Systems Summit agreed game changers for food systems transformation on the continent must be inclusive and provide equitable opportunities for all. Adopted on 1st July 2021, Lilongwe, Malawi. I thank you, Your Excellencies.
Your Excellencies, this is the summit declaration, and I would want to hear from you if there is any comment. President Museveni, Republic of Uganda.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, President Museveni.
The system was being interrupted. I need to know the issue of free trade. The food and agricultural products in Africa was covered. I don't know whether they, because it is an inhibiting factor when big production takes place, and the annual market is saturated, and you cannot sell to the others. Then the producers curtail production, and I think it interferes with the overall plan. Was it included? I didn't hear it properly.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, it was included, but we will probably reword it so that it is clearer when we talk about operationalizing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, so that we are able then to trade amongst ourselves. Thank you. Any other intervention? Then I believe that this captures what this pre-summit with regard to food systems summit that's coming up is really meant to be, and we will continue to receive various contributions even as we continue to prepare. But thank you very much for this summit declaration. We will now hear from Professor Dipala Ekwamu, the Roof Forum Executive Secretary.
Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar, President of the Republic of Malawi and convener of this summit dialogue. Your Excellency, Kaguta Yoweri Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Mozambique. Your Excellency, the representative of the President of Rwanda. Your Excellency, the representative of the President of the Republic of Benin. Your Excellency, the representative of the President of Sudan. Honorable ministers here present, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Your Excellency, I am most humbled to say these few words of thank you. Thank you very, very much for this occasion. Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Chakwera, the President of the Republic of Malawi, let me wholeheartedly thank you for considering it worthy to host this pre-UN Food System Summit University Policy Dialogue. It indeed answers one question that was raised in this meeting of the need for much closer dialogue between universities and other actors and other leaders. I thank you and all heads of state and government representatives present here for this positive. May I also use this occasion on behalf of African universities to thank the African Union for setting up the Committee of 10 Heads of States championing education, science, and technology. These are landmark processes that can allow universities and other actors input into government processes. On behalf of the Forum Network, I want to thank all your excellencies here present for the leadership that you are providing to the continent and indeed globally. Thank you very much for finding time to be part of this dialogue. It is our wish as academicians and research institutions that such dialogue will periodically be held so that we get to the desirable position of collective effort and inclusivity in implementation of all facets of resilient agri-food systems in Africa. My sincere appreciation to your excellencies for articulating the policy issues, needed actions, and pathways that will move Africa and the global community towards this direction of zero hunger. You have, indeed, we have confirmed that agri-food systems challenges are quite well known and they are not new. You have challenged us as universities to closely work with all stakeholders to explore alternatives of addressing these challenges. Thank you for this vote of confidence. We have been repeatedly told that African universities must demonstrate impact on the ground. Your Excellencies, African universities, we are committed to work with you and other actors to make sure we improve the livelihood of our people, that there is no hunger across our continent, and that we don't leave anybody behind in these efforts. Your Excellencies, when we started this journey with the institutional dialogues at various countries' level, it was our anticipation that the ideas generated will reach the highest policy-making organs, not only at national level, but at the continental and global levels. I am happy to acknowledge that this has been achieved with your guidance and support. I thank you, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the university's policy dialogue for strengthening resilient agri-food systems in Africa has attracted wide participation and support at all levels, indeed globally. This was reflected in the global participation in this dialogue today. The Vice Chancellor's Forum, the regional dialogues that we convene for Central, Eastern, Southern, North Africa, and the Gulf states, the government technocrats meeting that was held on 27th May of this year, and the ministers' dialogue of 9th June, as well as the dialogue of selected advocates, have reached a consensus that science, technology, and innovation should drive sustainable development for Africa. Africa cannot meet the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2063 targets unless we embrace science, technology, and innovations. The dialogue further highlighted that we will not be able to deliver on sustainable and inclusive food systems without the skilled human resource and without engaging all actors of our society, in particular women and youth. Further, the dialogues acknowledge that the UN Food System Summit could not have been convened at a more appropriate time when the fragility of food systems across the globe, and more so in Africa, have been exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic and other natural and man-made disasters such as drought, floods, locusts, and fall armyworms. Therefore, identifying pathways to build resilience has been a driving factor for the dialogues that were hosted under the Forum Network. Your Excellencies, I'm pleased that the dialogues have concluded that it is incumbent upon all of us to make the difference. Allow me to end with 3 prayers, Your Excellency. My plea to African leaders is that we must continue to strengthen access to education for all. This is today the biggest divide in our continent, Your Excellency. We plead with you to do everything to make sure nobody is left behind in terms of access to education. My second prayer is to plead with you on promoting inclusivity in development and to provide targeted support for strengthening the participation of women in science and technology. 3, Your Excellencies, our heads of states and governments, and various leaders, as part of promoting Pan-Africanisms, I plead for collective action to train students across our continent so that they know the beauty of the different parts of our continent, so that they begin to appreciate the opportunity and the challenge across the continent. Your Excellency, Dr. Lazarus Jaguar, it is my prayer that in your capacity as the champion for higher education in Africa, and your capacity as the incoming chair of SADC and of this summit, that the ideas generated by the dialogues are presented and considered by the United Nations General Assembly and indeed the United Nations Food System Summit in October. I thank you for hosting us today. I thank you for your generosity, and I wish you and all the people of Malawi a great journey, and that you remain the warm heart of Africa. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Professor Adepola Ekwamu, for those very, very profound concluding remarks, but not quite concluding as such. It is now my honor and humble duty to invite the host of this summit, and indeed the President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Mccarthy Jaguar, to address us with final concluding remarks.
Your Excellencies, President of the Republic of Uganda, Mzee Museveni, Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, President Mnangagwa, Right Honorable Prime Minister Rosario of Mozambique, representatives of heads of state and government, honorable ministers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you for today's fruitful deliberations and for honoring my invitation to participate in this momentous policy dialogue for strengthening resilient food systems in Africa. It is gratifying to have university-initiated and continent-based dialogue to deliberate on key issues between us as policy leaders. This in itself is a step in the right direction. Allow me to thank the Regional Universities Forum, headed by Professor George Kanyamapiri and Professor Adepola Ekwamu, for this initiative. Indeed, our institutions and universities, which sit at the apex of our education systems, must be relevant to the issues at hand. They must contribute to our targets for zero hunger, no poverty, and other sustainable development goals, as well as the Africa we want. From this dialogue, it is clear that we have to build the capacity of local institutions, their potential to influence young people who represent the majority of the population is enormous. I want to thank you for sharing your views and recommendations to the UN Food Summit, Systems Summit. We cannot develop unless we embrace science, technology, and innovations. We have to invest in our young people by making agriculture attractive. Excellencies, I can't thank you enough clearly articulating these ideals. We must not relent. We must keep the foot on the pedal. The UN Food Systems Summit is but a step towards contributing to the building blocks to Africa's food systems. Let us embrace it as a springboard to bring these matters to the fore of our policies. Let us endeavor to fulfill the commitments that we have assented to as countries and as a continent. Let us embrace the 5 continental initiatives that our ministers agreed upon in Ghana in December of 2019. Let us support and facilitate the mobility of our students and academics across Africa. Cross-pollination will help us. Let us strengthen our research capacities and support cross-country research initiatives. Let us invest in our future, the youth, and those who feed us, the smallholder farmers and small and medium businesses. Excellencies, let me assure you that Malawi is committed and is on the right path towards meeting the Sustainable Development Goal targets. Your submissions have demonstrated that there is a consistent and steady movement amongst us. Despite the challenges we face, despite issues to do with climate changes, issues to do with the context of peace, so we can cultivate peace and do away with insecurity, despite issues that challenge even our present-day children vis-a-vis stunting, I want to see a future that is positive, and I think our contributions today have demonstrated that. And for this, I want to thank you. It is my belief that as leaders in Africa, it is our solemn responsibility to ensure that the peoples of Africa have a better livelihood. And what better path than bringing together all stakeholders to dialogue on ways to strengthen our agri-food systems. Once again, I want to thank you all for participating in this dialogue, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, those remarks conclude this preliminary United Nations Food Systems Summit Dialogue for African Heads of State. And I think we can all agree that it was a very fruitful and indeed insightful summit. I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there for now. A big thank you to everybody that participated. And of course, our host, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Jaguar, President of the Republic of Malawi, for hosting us. With those remarks, we are going to end the summit. A good day to you all, and thank you all for participating and watching from wherever you are, whether you're online, on TV. Indeed, thank you very much. Your Excellency, at your leisure, you may take leave.